Hi, welcome back to the plot. Do you like the idea of using raised beds for your gardening, but the cost is just enormous, or you can't find the right width or size for what you want? Well, today's video is all about making these raised beds from free pallet wood. So low cost, easy to make, and customizable to any height and size you want. Let me show you how we do it. So one of the first things you're going to need is some pallets. You can get hold of these from shops or occasionally on eBay or Marketplace. People give them away free. Most of these have come from like people that are building in and around the area. Normally if you go and talk to the builders, they're more than happy to get rid of these pallets because they're only going to have to dump them themselves. So first job is hunt around, get yourself some pallets. So the first thing you're going to need to do is get these slats off. Now, one of the easiest methods, if you haven't got any tools or anything, is to put a couple of bricks underneath the pallet that you want. Get yourself a hammer, and that'll bring that out like that. Now if there's a slat underneath so you can't access that, what you can do is just place it up on a couple of bricks with a board in between, and again just give that a good whack. So that's one of the easy low cost ways of doing it. If you're going to be doing a lot of them, it's well worth getting hold of one of these pallet breakers, and I'll show you how that works. So what you do is just put that underneath there like that, and then just ease back on that, and that pulls it up. Again, there you go. So don't worry about you get a bit of a bit of splitting and everything else, and then it's just a case of, depending on where the nails are, banging these nails through and cleaning this board up. Once you've got your boards, you want to keep a few of these behind, and they act as the runners, and the rest of them you need to cut up into the height of the beds that you want. So you've got lots of slats, so you do that with a chop saw or a jigsaw, but you want lots of planks all the same length from all those lengths, and as I say, and a few left behind. Now I've made up a little jig for putting these in because I'm making a lot of beds, so I'm going to slot that in there because I'm going to do one that's 80 long today. Now what you want to do is get these and mark them for length. Now the length that you want is actually 2 slats short of the full length. So if you're doing like 80, you want to do about sort of 74. The reason for this is that if I grab a couple of boards, if you imagine that this is the top slat that's going along there like that, and this is the other slat, when you butt them together like that, you want to have space for this board to sit in there and this top board to sit in there. So what you need to do is make sure that your top slats have about a board's width gap at each side. So let's get those cut and in position. So I've got those 2 boards cut, and there's enough gap for the piece to go down the sides, either end on there. Now here's the fun part, and that is you need to get your boards and slot those in all along the length. Now they all come in different widths and thicknesses, so, and I think it sort of adds to the rustic look of the actual bed when it's finished. So let's grab a couple more boards and let's have a look. As I say, they're all different thicknesses, so it's just a case of really matching up the boards as much as possible So that one's a bit thick, so let's see if we've got a slightly thinner one in there. Maybe one of those two. Maybe. Let's have a look. And there we go. Those ones are a perfect fit. Let's put those spare ones away. Now what you want to do is just, I'm just going to take those back out and stack them up there. And I like to apply a little bit of wood glue on this. So you don't necessarily need to use wood glue, but I've got it available and it provides a slightly stronger bond to the boards. So you're going to get a good load of that all up and down the wood. And then we're going to make sure our ends are lined up still properly. And then we're just going to put those boards back in again. And then what I'm going to do is use a drill that's got like it's a pilot hole and a rebate on there. Just remember when you're doing the end ones that the boards don't go right to the end, so you just need to come in a bit. And we'll drill a couple of holes top and bottom. And then get a whole load of screws. Now I find that 30mm wood screws work best for this. For normal standard boards, it's just enough to get through both boards without actually punching through the back, and then just drill those in. And then just repeat the process all the way along. And once you're done, there we have one side complete. So just need to repeat that process again for another 80 side. I do my beds at 80 wide because I think that's a nice reach when I'm doing them, and then I have lengths of 130 and 2 meters. So now we've got this one done, just need to make up another 3 for the 2 lengths and another end, and we'll get them painted up. So I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4 sides done up, and now I'm just going to paint them. What you'll find is pallet wood is tends to be very dry, and it will take quite a lot of stain when you're doing it, so be generous with it. You could use, I'm using here Cuprinel shades wood stain. Its colour is willow because I think it goes quite nicely with the bark down at the allotment, but you could use anything you like, or you could use linseed oil if you want to just keep the natural wood look, which we might end up doing on one of the beds, but most of all just give them a good old coat one side and the other, and then once they're all painted up, we can get them down to the plot and get them all fixed together. So I'll carry on doing this and join me down at the plot where I'll show you how it all gets fixed together. So I've got my bed laid out where I want it to go. Just need to join the corners together. So the first step is just to square up the corners. And what I'm going to do is just put a hole in top and bottom. And I'm just going to put a screw through this board, through this one, into the end board of the side panel. Just to fix it in place. So when you're doing this, it's just really just to hold it in place for the time being. Then, once we've done that, I'm going to get one of these blocks, which is just a block from one of the runners on the pallets. I'm going to just place that inside, and then we're going to use that and drill through on both sides, just to give us a really firm corner. Just screw that one in, holding the block on the inside. And put those 4 screws in. So that gives us a really nice secure corner. What we're going to do now is do the other 4, and then we'll talk about putting it in place. So I've now got it all screwed together, and I've got it level. The last thing that I'm going to do is cut off some old scrap wood. I'm just going to knock that in the inside, and then drill into the actual bed itself. That really is just, there only needs to be little pieces. It really is just to make sure that while I'm filling this up and doing various different things, actually I can screw that in, and then the bed won't move around when I'm filling it up. So we'll get on and hammer those in and get those screwed in, and go on to the next step. The next step is I'm going to line this bed hole. You could use old compost sacks, or you could leave it unlined if you want, but I like to line it just to give it an extra bit of warmth to the soil and a bit of protection for the wood. I'm using this protective sheet, which is sheet that you designed for putting down when you're decorating. So I'm going to get that cut up into length and stapled in. So just going to staple this along. Doesn't need too many staples in it. It's just enough to hold it in place until we get some soil in here. Run that all the way along, get the bed lined, and then just stick around, because there's one final step just to make sure this bed is nice and secure. One final step to actually make sure it's really secure. As you see, it's still got quite a bit of flex in it because of the long runs, especially on the long runs. So this is a 2 metre by 80 bed. So one thing I do to stop, when you pile the soil in, it's got a tendency to flex outwards. So what I'm going to do is just going to secure across the bottom with some of this metal strip. Now, I've got this available, this metal strip, but you could quite easily just use the runners from the pallets that you've got left over, the thick runners that on the slats are on, and just put one across those and just screw it in from either side. So I'm going to put this across here. I'm going to put 2 across the bottom, and then I'll put another one across the middle. Let's say on smaller beds where you've only got like a metre or so length, you'll probably find that you won't need to do this. This is really just because on these larger beds, once you pile, especially the deeper you go, the deeper that you go into the actual make your bed, the more soil you've got on here and the more pressure you've got pushing out. So it's well worth just bracing them, just to make sure that you don't get that problem. So there we have it. Nice, secure, raised bed that I'll be filling up over the next couple of weeks with some soil and straw and various different bits and pieces. So watch out for a video on that later. but we have now our raised bed. And as I said, you can customize these to whatever size or height you want. It's all made out of free pallet wood. So for the cost of a packet of screws and a bit of lining and some wood stain, we've got a nice new raised bed ready for the spring and the summer gardening. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you again soon.